National Union of Mineworkers says it will only entertain any wage offer of below 9% if it's a one-year deal only. Wage talks at Eskom resumed this morning, and NUM has rejected Eskom's offer of a 5% wage increase over 3 years. NUM, NUMSA and Solidarity met with the power utility last week in a second round of talks initiated following intervention by Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. Workers last week rejected the increase of 4.7%. Initially, the Labour wanted a 15% increase but have now dropped this to 9%. The electricity grid has been constrained, with Eskom implementing load shedding, citing the effects of the protest action by workers. The talks are expected to continue until this Friday.
I want to put it very clear that the 5% is a waste of time. That is still far from us reaching a settlement, because you must know for now we have got a difference of a 4%, where if they offer for a 5%, we are still at 9% for this first year, and we don't talk about the other years. But at the end of the day, we strongly believe that if Eskom doesn't see the stability of a long term, we are not allergic to sign a one-year deal with Eskom, with the purpose that next year we'll come back to the wage negotiation. If the only critical issue is that they can address our demands in the 3 years, we are flexible that let us now negotiate for a percentage that is a one-year deal.
Eskom board had an opportunity to interact with the joint unified positions of union. I think we are faced here with a serious challenge of a failure to have pragmatic leadership. If we had pragmatic leadership, I don't think we would have Eskom trying to come and do a horse trading with us. They would have reflected comprehensively to all issues that we have put on the table, and that they would not give us 5%, which they know that we will reject it. I mean, there's no union that's going to accept this 5%. And the difficulty is the fact that we gave the board the cost drivers that need to be addressed, and if those cost drivers are being addressed, Eskom will be in a better position. Its balance sheet would improve such that it can give workers a better increase.
For more on this, we cross live to our reporter Mbongeni Mutwa in Woodmead, who is going to update us with the situation. Mbongeni, good afternoon. Just when the talks began, it was a 0% offer. Does this now really show that the unions were justified in their fight for a substantial increase? Because there has been movement now. We're talking about a 5% to 9% and a citation of a one-year deal possibility. Has there been any movement yet?
Well, maybe first to start off with is to point out that the plenary session, that is the unions, all three of them, across the table from the employer, which is the Eskom negotiating team led by the head of generation, Mr. Pravin, on the other side, and then the facilitator at the front table. They are still inside there, they are still locked inside there. The negotiations have reached a turning point, a critical stage, as we've been pointing out throughout today. Excuse me. And as also you heard from those clips that you just played. What we are seeing now is a parting of ways, so to speak, in terms of the joint front that the unions have been presenting, excuse me, ever since the reopening of the negotiations last week. Now we're seeing the unions failing to maintain that joint position, to maintain the lockstep in terms of moving forward. Now that Eskom has come back and said we are improving on the 4.7% offer to 5% for the first year. The unions, especially NUM, which, as I've been explaining, is more of a member-led union as far as Eskom is concerned, has come here with a new mandate from the members. a mandate that is different from the mandate that they had last week, a mandate of compromising to 9% from double digit, and so on and so on. The attitudes of the workers, of the NUM members, they being the majority at Eskom, seems to have hardened following the statement by the Minister of Finance in London last week that government has got no money to give to Eskom to improve the salaries. And also what we are learning in terms of this hardening of attitude is that following the strike or no strike, wildcat strike or no wildcat strike of last week at Eskom, which Eskom continues to blame for load shedding that is still there at the moment. Eskom apparently has deployed security personnel, private security personnel, to guard all its facilities, all its power stations around the country. Of course, the strike or no strike action that happened was described by Mr. Partha Governor, the head of the nation, as having been quite violent, lots of intimidation and so on and so on. So Eskom has deployed private security all around these commando types security, and we are told that that has fueled the anger of the workers, the NUM members. It has hardened their attitudes towards the company. They are saying that management doesn't have money to give them a better deal, a good deal, but they've got money to hire private security and deploy them all around. They are threatening, because now they are angry, so they are saying they are ready to shut down the power stations anytime. So now they are back to double digits, 12% by this weekend. If not, they are vowing to shut down the power stations, to stick the finger at management, to show them that they are not scared of this armed private security that they've deployed around there. So that is what you have here. And maybe it speaks to a point that a lot of people fail to recognize, or a lot of people miss when it comes to wage negotiations and so on and so on, that workers are human beings. A worker is a human being. A worker is not a robot. There is attitudes and emotions involved when people sit around the table. That is management and worker representatives from head office. When they sit around the table to negotiate, to discuss wages, it's not just about rents and cents. It's not just about the figures and so on. It's about people, human beings, their emotions and their attitudes. Basically, one could say that that is actually what caused or led to Marikana, for instance, the disaster that happened there. It was not just about rents and cents anymore. It was more than that. And right now, it seems like at Eskom, we are at that juncture right now. On the ground, the situation seems to be the way I've described, and that is what has led the newly elected or re-elected leadership of the NUM, the majority, to come here today with a hardened attitude, with a different tone than what we saw last week when they were not here, busy preparing for the Congress and so on. So that is the way things stand at the moment. The unions are expecting management to now say what their final offer is. Basically, they've called management back into plenary to say to them, we don't accept the improved offer of 5%. Please just tell us what your final word is. That's all we want to hear now, and then we can go separately as the unions to our members, present that to them, and then let them decide the way forward.
All right, Bongani Mutwa coming to us live from Woodmead outside the plenary session of the negotiations between three unions. That is NUMSA, as well as Solidarity. The prevailing situation at the moment. So we are awaiting the final offer of Eskom concerning these negotiations.